And we are live. Welcome to the Squeaky Stream, everybody. The Squeaky Stream. This is the first official episode of the Squeaky Stream. If you notice, I'm going to look in between cameras because we are simultaneously live on my Instagram and also on my YouTube. So if you have not subscribed, please like and subscribe right now. Follow all my stuff. I am pretty much doing an impromptu stream rather. Yeah, English, David. There's some things I want to get off my chest. I promise I won't swear and say naughty words, YouTube. If I'm about to, I will just beat the horn of my wheelchair. So I'm going to wait about 40 more seconds and I will cosplay a swear word and then there will be a beep. So let's see. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. It's like New Year's. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How you mother doing? Just kidding. Just kidding. I don't care. It's like some morning zoo crew shiznit. So before I continue and I get some of the things I want to speak about off my chest on this here podcast, because I have not podcasted by myself in quite the fortnight and quite a very, very long time. I will get some road dates out of the way because we are doing it, boys and girls, and theys and thems. We're going to be busy, busy, busy this May. So I'm on the road. I will be in Monroe, Michigan on May the 15th. It's a Wendy Kaiser gig. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She's lovely, lovely. She's a fixture in the Toledo stand-up community, so please give Wendy Kaiser a follow. Shout out also to my boy Dave Crumley, always putting us Canadians on your open mics. We appreciate you, my brother. May the 16th, we do a monthly show here in Windsor, Ontario called the Super Villains of Comedy. The Super Villains of Comedy. Look it up. It is also here on my Instagram and my Facebook page. Please give that a follow. We're also going to do an official page so that I don't just have to keep doing it on my own account. I do that with my brother from another mother, Mr. Christian Picard. He is also disabled. If you're familiar with the show Malcolm in the Middle, I basically call him White Stevie because he kind of talks like that. And his words, not mine. Don't get mad at this, YouTube. He says he looks like what would happen if John Wick lost all the fights instead of beating them, instead of winning the fight. So I do a monthly show with him. He's absolutely hysterical. We put on amazing lineups. There's people from Canada and the U.S. Please go check that out. Let's see, what else do I have? On May the 23rd, I'm going to be in London, Ontario, Canada, the other London, not the British one. Agavna, not that one. I will be in Canada. I'm performing at Fitzray's, doing a Jordan Minter gig. Shout out to him for putting me on. I will be closing the show. Be doing about 15, 20 minutes, so please come out and support that. Support live comedy. They got a great scene up there. Really, really awesome people. So that's the 23rd. May the 29th, I am in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, also working with Christian Picard, who I just aforementioned. He is starting a monthly show there. It's called the Break a Leg Comedy Circuit Tour. So please give Christian a follow. Give him a shout out. He's got also an album that is going to be released on, I believe it is Sirius XM and iTunes. He has a story about him getting stuck in a pool and almost drowning. It's absolutely hilarious. Christian makes me better. He makes me a better man, a better comic, as well as my boy Chris Gerasimo. Shout out to him with Windsor Laughs too. That's my brother too. My little brother. I love him so much. He was just on Kill Tony, which is coming out this week. And when he told me, when he gave me the call, you guys, I could not have been more excited. It was like Christmas for me. When you see your friends succeeding, the amount of pride and like the visceral feelings that you have are indescribable. So yeah, shout out to him. And then let's see, the last date is actually, no, sorry, I have two more dates. ADD David. The next two dates I have booked officially, I'm going to be in Toronto, Ontario, Canada on May the 31st. I'm going to be working with Blair Williams, a disabled guy there. Shout out to him. He works with Jared Nathan, the great Jared Nathan from Kill Tony. Also, thank you for putting me on so many of your gigs as well. We're going to work together again. And then this is actually hot off the presses. Shout out to my boy Alex Monk and all the Windsor Improv guys. We are going to be doing a new Faces showcase at the Shadowbox Theater off of Shepherd and Howard Avenue in Windsor, Ontario. And that is going to be on June the 5th at 7 p.m. featuring myself. I will be co-headlining with Mr. Cole Chauvin. Hope I'm saying that name correctly. I've been getting a lot of flack for mispronouncing or misspelling names. Shout out to you, Zach. Love you, buddy. I'm going to be co-headlining that with him. He's an awesome dude. Originally from Windsor, living in Toronto right now. Hosts his own monthly show. Give Cole a follow as well. And I will be posting all these links in the description when I'm finished with this here podcast. That is all I have to announce for right now. We got all of that silliness out of the way. So let's start the pod, and let's start with some coffee. Love this cup too. I have another cup that says a naughty word, so I will not be putting that on camera as well. And if I do say a naughty word, I'll go just that. That's just for me. I feel like when, especially on YouTube, there's always like it's kind of, I don't know if it's a hack premise or whatever, but I always feel like behind the scenes there's like some outrage robot just kind of mining all the naughty words. It's like zeep serve zeep. Sir, see, you can't say that. You can't do this. Demonetize. But I don't know. Whatever. I don't know where I was going with that. This is what happens when you do it live. Sometimes you just kind of go off the dome. So, a few things I want to get off my chest. I have not done one of these in quite some time. I used to do a podcast with an adult film star, Maxine X. Shout out to her. Our schedules kept conflicting, so we stopped doing that. So I will be doing this a bit more. Originally, for this idea, I wanted to have this podcast be called The Workshop, or The Workshop, where I come in and I try out new bits, try it out on you guys. You give me some live feedback, and we just kind of do this consistently. So if I have an idea or a premise or whatever, you guys tell me if it sucks or if I should go with it. Excuse me. But that's not why I popped on here live. So here's the thing. It's the day before Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms out there. We love you. Part of this podcast is going to be a little serious. I'm going to be a little vulnerable, open up a little bit more and show you a different side of me than I normally do on and off stage even. Because I feel like sometimes I've always hated people that want to label, it's very dismissive. And to me, you only scratch the surface of somebody's potential, okay? Every time I hear somebody saying, well, they're this and they're that, and especially with the political stuff that's going on, I don't even want to touch that. I very much have subscribed to the George Carlin way of looking at this, where it's like, it's one big club and you ain't in it. And if we have found out anything within the past year is that they very much do not care about us. They have their own agenda. They're doing their own thing. So politics, I'm not going to talk about in here. I want to invite people. I want to show you, my own follies, talk about my own life, my own stuff, just so you guys can relate, just so you guys don't feel like you're alone there. You know what I mean? So I'm going to wave to all the people on Instagram right now. Waving to y'all. Thank you so much for hopping on the Squeaky stream. I appreciate each and every one of you. So again, it's the day before Mother's Day, and sometimes, I'm just going to be honest, guys, I'm a bit of an insomniac. I don't know whether it's just having devices in my room when I'm trying to sleep. I have a very, very hard time powering down my mind. You know what I mean? And I know there's a lot of people that have this same issue. It's been happening since I was like a little boy. My stepdad, shout out to Tom, love you, man. He would, every time I would try and like stay up, every time I'd have school, rather, I'm trying to form my sentences together. Every time I would have school, I would always want to stay up late and watch a cartoon or watch a late night show like a David Letterman or a Conan or the Tonight Show or whatever. Just because I was fascinated with celebrity culture, was fascinated with entertainment, with athletes, and you realize how they all have intrinsic value and they all kind of like overlap, because I was watching an intro for the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron first came back. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. I'm a Raptor fan through and through. Love the '04 Pistons team. I don't like people that kind of whine and flop and stuff like he does, but I respect his talent, and I have to say their intro is absolutely phenomenal. They play some classical music. I'm butchering the name. What is the name? They have it's in my other browser. Let's see. It is called Karima Barana. I hope I'm not butchering that. So I played that when I was trying to sleep last night, because I think my aunt tried to play classical music with me, because there were some studies that I was going to make the kids smarter. Didn't really work. I'm a silly comic, and I tell naughty jokes in front of inebriated adults for sort of a living. Sometimes they pay me for that. Anyway, so As a kid, I've always had problems sleeping. I always stay up late at night and just, I don't know whether it is like Doug Stanhope has a really great bit about this, where it's like as soon as you close your eyes and you try and sleep sober, the carnival starts going. It's like da 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 da. I'm not going to do the big because I don't want to do it injustice. I think he is a genius, but I was always staying up. I was always staying up, um, fixated on past experiences. Maybe if I said something that I didn't want to say, foot in the mouth type moments, ironic considering my condition. Foot in my mouth type moments, if I didn't stand up for myself, if I didn't say what I truly wanted to say, what was on my mind. So those type of thoughts always swim in my head. So recently I've been trying to do more meditation, putting on some more like sounds and stuff, just like very kind of like almost like music you hear when you're going into a day spa. It's very calming and very soothing. So I went out last night and didn't sleep the best. And it's the day before Mother's Day, so it just got me thinking about a lot of the women in my life and how I would be nothing without them, because we always talk about heroes. And the expression is not all heroes wear capes, right? And one of my biggest heroes growing up was an athlete, was Allen Iverson, and still is. I am the biggest Vince Carter fan ever because without Vince Carter, so many hoopers in this great nation would not have picked up a basketball. He is what they call Maple Jordan. Someone might have said online, and I have a big poster of Vince. Nothing but respect to Vince, but I connected the most with Allen Iverson growing up because it was the 2000-2001 series when they played the Lakers, and this is when the NBA was on NBC, and thank God it's back. It belongs on NBC. Their coverage and their intros are phenomenal, phenomenal. Like I legit started tearing up when I saw that intro. Not even just the nostalgia and all the nonsense that they'll kind of do with the member berries, but just about the presentation, just how beautiful it was, and how you felt like every moment mattered. And why I connected so much with Allen Iverson is because I always respect a little man doing big things. To me, it's biblical. It's very intrinsic. What's the word? Kismet. When you have good karma, like it's symbolic, just in terms of being a metaphor for life. Because Allen Iverson is 6 foot tall, right? And I watched a documentary on him on Amazon Prime. It's a beautiful documentary. Go watch it. You're gonna also tear up. But I saw how every time, this is why I don't like, I love the 3 point shot with basketball. Don't get me wrong. I coached a little bit back in the day. I love the 3 point shot, but there's nothing like a little dude going to the lane, knowing he's going to get hit, knowing he's going to get fouled, maybe severely injured, maybe a back, maybe an ankle, whatever, but he doesn't care. Because Allen Iverson played every single basketball game like it was his last. Because you never know. You never know what's going to happen in life, man. Life is so random. It's so crazy, and you just don't know. And I think I was 11 or 10 at the time watching him when he stepped over Tyronn Lue, and that's the only game they won in the series. They went on to lose the series. Spoiler alert if you're not a big sports fan. But I love how, even though he never won a championship, even though he had his issues on and off the court, the infamous practice thing, he still always remained true to himself and remained true to his roots, and he gave it every single ounce and every single fiber of his being as soon as he stepped onto the court. And as soon as 2020 happened, I'm not going to name the virus of unknown origins, as Critical Drinker says, or other ones say. As soon as that happened, um, comedy I was at a very interesting point in my life. I just moved out of my childhood home with my grandparents and stuff. I was living with my grandmother and a couple of family members at the time. And I just moved out. I'd finally gotten a taste of independence. And just like that, it was taken away from me. Taken away from me. You can't leave your house. You're worried about, you don't know how this thing gets spread and this and that. I don't want to get deep. I'm not going to talk more about this, but the point I'm trying to make here is that when I felt like my life was shifting and changing, that's when something clicked. That's when, not that my life flashed before my eyes, but I almost had this semblance of not panic, but just saying, like, what are you doing with your life? What do you want to actually do with your life? You know what I mean, guys? What do you actually want to do with your life? Because I think about that when Allen Iverson said, like, every time I step on that court, I play every game like it's my last. Why can't I do that with my act? Why can't I do that with my life? Why am I so fixated on what other people think of me? And, I'm in the entertainment business. A lot of my friends are in the entertainment business. A lot of people, it's a misnomer that I hear sometimes when I get off stage and people saying, man, you have to be, I could never do that. You must be so confident to do that. Like, and meanwhile, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm shaking in my wheels the whole time. Like, I want to find the escape. I want to find the nearest exit so I can get the F out of Dodge, so I can just go home. They're like, man, it must be so nerve wracking. Like, I really, like, it's amazing that you can do this and da da da. I'm just like, no, like, a lot of us hate ourselves. A lot of us have so many issues that if we were to describe it to you guys, like, it would be unfathomable, the mental gymnastics that we play and the torture that we do to ourselves. But a lot of the times I look back on my life before 2020 and I was getting in my way a lot. I did not think I was worth it, guys. I really did not. Even when I would get a compliment, whether it be from a member of the opposite sex or my peers or my family or whatever, like, I've always enjoyed being in front of crowds because I felt like I was more comfortable up there than I was even doing this, even doing the one-on-one. Because then you're, for lack of a better term, you're naked, you're vulnerable. And maybe when people see the real me or this and that, then they're not going to like me anymore. And there's this fear of the FOMO, the fear of missing out. There's this anxiety that comes to it. I still sometimes when I go like around my old high school and just around my old neighborhood, I still get jitters in my stomach. I still have that visceral feeling of panic, like I'm going to pass out, like something bad's going to happen. So I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So when 2020 happened, I just said, you know what? I'm going to not only take this seriously, but it was one time when I was at Craft Heads, the old show we used to do here in Windsor, which I shout out to that place, shout out Mike and all y'all. Um, I don't know what happened. I'd look at people and I'd want to not necessarily roast, but just kind of comment on something. Just be like, oh man, like I think there was a guy in the audience where he brought a sword to the show, which is weird, but hilarious. And he had the biggest beard, like literally like a Gandalf wizard beard. And I turned and I said, bro, how are you going to bring a giant sword to this show and you're not even going to shave your beard? And it got a big pop. It got a laugh. And I was like, yo, something clicked. And I'm like, why am I so fixated on repeating my material exactly how it should be? And a bad habit that I see a lot of newer comics getting is blaming the audience. And I used to do it too. So I'm not here trying to throw shade or anything like that. I used to blame the audience if something wasn't going well. Whereas like now I just mock it. Like I just say, yeah, it's new if it doesn't work, whatever. But that's the process. And then I thought to myself, and also shout out to Christian Picard for saying this, because we had a very deep and in-depth conversation. And the way that him and I speak to each other is very much like a brother, but I can tell him things that I won't even tell you guys, because being a person with a disability, there is a stigma. I'm so blessed and happy to be born and live in this time. As insane, as chaotic, and as unhinged as this time is, and just how we feel like the sky is falling, for lack of a better term, this is the best time to be alive in human history. This time in the 90s, let's be real. Um, I would not exist. People like me and like you guys, and a lot of you guys, like we would have the toughest time. We would not even know how to tie our shoes, let alone do a fire. But Christian straight up asked me, said, Dave, do you feel inferior? Do you feel inferior? Why do you limit yourself? Why do you self-sabotage? Why do you approach things always thinking that it's going to go horribly wrong? And I had to sit on that for a minute. I really had to savor that moment. Not savor, but let it marinate a little bit, because he was right. I realized Christian was right. I did, for the vast majority of my life, feel like I did not belong. Very inferior, you know? And I would look at other people saying, like, I don't know how they do it, because other people can just jump into a car. Like every time I'd want to take a trip with a friend or go to like when I was in elementary school, go to a sleepover or like go to a party, there was always an adult around me because I had an educational assistant. They would help me out. In school, if I needed things to be scribed and transcribed, if I had questions or needed extra time because of my condition to physically write something or what have you. And it varies for every disabled person, right? And my grandparents were with me. My stepdad and my mom were around, but they were busy starting their business, and it's thriving right now. And this is I very much treat my comedy and everything around it like a business now, which is also the shift. But um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I was going at that point. Sorry, guys. I don't want to ramble, but I'm just trying to be, I don't know, as present as possible, if that makes any sense. But this is why I need a co-host. Oh yeah, so Christian, right? Christian's thing. So I thought about that. I thought back on my life and just about what my thought process was and how I changed that. And years of therapy will help. Exercise helps. You know, other things too that I won't mention on the stream because I want the stream to stay up. But um, sometimes we don't realize, not just me, but you guys, like how blessed we are. Because I felt like most of my life I wanted to be somebody else. If I could just have their life, maybe then things would improve. Or if I am this nice guy, then maybe she'll want to hook up with me. Or then maybe people will like me. Then maybe my dreams have been true. Maybe all these hypotheticals, this, that, and the other. But that's not reality, guys. That's not how life works. And it took me a very, very long time to realize that. So we talk about heroes on this. We talk about Mother's Day. Aside from Allen Iverson being my hero, my other hero is my grandmother. My grandmother Joyce, and she's in the twilight of her life right now. Excuse me. I'm not trying to get emotional on camera like that, but so my grandmother is my hero. She always has and always will be my hero. And the reason why is because some of the stories she told me because she was born in 1933, graduated from Patterson High School in 1950, 51, around there. She was an usher at the Cleary Auditorium. Now it's the St. Clair Center for the Arts in Windsor. And, you know, she worked there. She met a lot of famous celebrities like Frank Sinatra, Diana Ross, who she can't stand, apparently. I'm not trying to throw shade. Apparently, Diana Ross is a horrible person. This is before we knew about Ellen and all these celebrities being really out of pocket and being mean and tyrants and all that. But Diana Ross, I guess, is exactly the same. But she got to physically shake Martin Luther King's hand with my Aunt Glendora, with my Uncle Baldy, and with my grandfather. And she is my hero because it took me up until 2020, up until recently, to realize that not all strength is physical strength. She taught me resilience. She taught me to not judge a book by its cover, but also to treat people the way you want to be treated. There's a million cliches I could throw out here, guys. But this is like when I was like 2 or 3 years old. Like, they didn't think I was going to walk. She, excuse me. She basically like motivated me and was always there. Was always in my corner. My mother is the same. My mother is an absolute badass. She really is. Like, from starting Royal Culture Craft, that was the name of the business back in the late 90s and early 2000s. From starting that business from the ground up with my stepdad and just seeing what it is now is astonishing. So I bring up my grandmother because, you know, she's having issues now being in the twilight of her life. And when I have spoken with her, you know, she's there, but she's not all there, but she knows viscerally that I care and that basically, like, she never had a son. Her and my grandfather never had a son. They had my mom and my aunt. So I was basically their son, and they took me in. And I've talked to many people, like, they can't believe that I'm the age that I am. I'm 35 years old, guys. They're like, you must be older and stuff. Like, no, I was raised by older people. And even some of my references, some of my sayings, some of my cliches that I referenced probably throughout this stream, I get from them. Like, I grew up watching All in the Family. So if you're not familiar with All in the Family, it's a sitcom that was made in 1970, in the 1970s. by Norman Lear. He, I think he wrote and like produced some of the best shows of all time on TV. And I used to watch that with my grandfather. I used to watch that, Family Matters. And I used to watch Wheel of Fortune, what's Tool Time, Home Improvement, all that stuff when I was a kid. So from a very, very young age, it's like I was indoctrinated to do comedy. I wanted to be in show business. I wanted to be in front of people. But what I love in particular about All in the Family, I think it could be applied to today's climate, is that Archie Bunker, for lack of a better term, is a bigot. He's a bigot. He's ignorant. He's racist. He's sexist. He's all the isms that you can think of, right? And he was the butt of the joke for the vast majority of that show. But why my grandfather would laugh so hard is that you need that contrast, because there was a meathead. There was Rob Reiner, R.I.P. to him. There's Rob Reiner's character. It was Meathead. He was dating Archie Bunker's daughter. And he was there to kind of clap back whenever Archie would say some out-of-pocket things. There was Lionel, the black neighbor. He had a Jewish neighbor. He had basically a whole spectrum of neighbors and people that he interacted with. He interacted with a queer person, too, that he didn't know was queer. And when he found out, like, he was stunned. He didn't say anything, but still remained the guy's friend. And they still had mutual respect with each other. And I think that is missing today. Not to sound like an old man, but I think that's missing today, because art like that, shows like that, show you that you can have different backgrounds, you can disagree with people, but you can still get along. You can still have the respect to say, I don't agree with you. I don't subscribe to how you conduct yourself or how you do this and that, but we can still love each other. We can still respectfully talk to each other, which does not happen online. I think a lot of it's because it's text, and some of that's AI, I'm sure. Some of that's here to just rile people up and get outraged and stuff. Like, I find myself scrolling, reading the comments at night, and I'm trying not to do that because it's just not good for your mental health. It's not good in general. So from a very early age, I would watch shows like that. And same with Family Matters too, same with all of them. It's a cliche they would have the anti-drug episode, or the episode where the person comes out as gay. Very taboo in the 90s. Very taboo even in the early 2000s, before gay marriage was legalized too. Like, my grandparents were ahead of the curve with that too. My grandmother worked with a gay person, and he said, like, because my grandmother hates cooking, to this day she cannot stand cooking. She can make three good things. Oh dear, I guess the kid outside is having some of my grandmother's cooking. That's why they're crying. To this day, guys, my grandmother's three main dishes are chicken and dumplings. She makes an amazing mac and cheese with the greens on side. And she would always make me spaghetti every single time for my birthday, right? And she taught me so many things. And I never even realized the value of them until I became a grown adult, until I went out on my own, and until 2020 happened, and until I thought comedy was going to be taken away from me. Not just comedy, but my life in general. There are many, many times where I thought about ending it, or I thought about what would happen if I'm not here and this and that, because I have a stupid mind like that. I play all these stupid hypotheticals, and it's what David Foster Wallace said, or no, sorry, not David Foster Wallace, Mark Manson. The book's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. It's called The Feedback Loop from Hell, where you play all these hypotheticals in your mind and you just can't stop. It's incessant. It's redundant almost, and it just keeps you up at night. And basically, I'm going to transition because this is a sensitive subject. I need to be careful what I say here, because this goes back into my next point. I do have notes, by the way, for this, but they're on my phone. I don't want to stop the stream on Instagram. I was watching Inside the NBA, excuse me, which is an incredible show. Amazing chemistry. The talent there is unmatched, because you have three Hall of Fame basketball players. You got Charles Barkley, you got Kenny the Jet Smith, you have Shaquille O'Neal, who I grew up watching. And, he can be a big knucklehead sometimes and say some silly things on TV. But from what I've heard and seen, like, he's a gentle giant. Like, always, if he's out somewhere and somebody needs help with groceries or whatever, he takes care of the bill. He just does that. Not because he wants to, not because he's obligated to. Not because he's obligated to, because he wants to. And Ernie Johnson, who's Charles Barkley says the consummate professional. Super amazing chemistry. You can tell they're genuinely friends off stage. which is why sometimes when I'm on stage and I make a joke that is a little sensitive about my disability and stuff, or one of my comedy peers does, sometimes the audience will go, "Oh, we're on." And I'm like, "Listen, guys, you may think you're being nice and doing the right thing by doing that, but it's actually quite offensive to me because also they're my actual friends. You guys are going to go home and not actually help me and just it's more so for them than it is for you. And this also what I don't like about this culture. It's very performative. People are a lot different when you talk to them off camera and just behind closed doors. But anyways, so I was watching Inside the NBA, and the Pistons are in the second round of the playoffs. They're playing the Cavaliers. Love that the Pistons are back. It's good for basketball. Even as a Raptor fan, I've had the utmost respect for the Detroit Pistons because it's blue collar, all hustle, all their teams. Even though they may have done some things to bend the rules in terms of physicality and fouling, they've always embodied and encompassed like the spirit of Detroit, which is a tough blue collar city. It's very direct. That's why I love doing shows over there. If they don't like you, they will let you know within 2 seconds. And I like that a lot more because you know where you stand with people. And even when I'm jumping all over the place, guys. Sorry. Even when I'm talking about the Mark Manson book, The Salt Art of Not Giving an F, he mentioned that when he went to Eastern Europe and he was going out with this lady that was Russian, she was very blunt with him. And she says, if I don't like this, I don't like this. And initially, he was taken aback and shocked. He gasped, actually. But then he said, you know what? That's actually refreshing because there's no second guessing. There's no questioning. There's no ulterior motives. There's no agenda. You know where you stand with somebody. And Detroit is an awesome town for that. So and inside the NBA, they did a piece on Duncan Robinson. And Duncan Robinson is a basketball player from New Hampshire and Maine area. He played for Michigan basketball team back in the late 2010s. He was on Miami for 7 years, and now he just joined the Pistons. Sometimes when I look off, guys, I'm thinking about stuff. But um, so he just joined the Pistons, the place where he played college at. Amazing homecoming, great story. But they did a piece on him and his brother, and so he had an older brother. His name was Eli, and Eli and him grew up playing basketball together. In fact, his jump shot quite literally is a carbon copy of Eli's jump shot. And that's why I love sports. It's beautiful. You take little snippets from your life, and again, there's intrinsic value, meaning like they're all correlated and related, in case some of you don't know what that means. But he grew up with his brother Eli, and when Eli was maturing and coming of age, there was something different about Eli because he had shown signs of some issues with mental health, some issues with substances, because he stopped playing basketball. He got more into partying. He stopped going to practice. He was on Duncan's basketball team with him, his high school team, but he never went to college, never went pro. He just stopped because the more and more like the deeper that you go in terms of the piece, he actually started hearing voices. Um, whether that's attributed to substances or not, there's still some research that's being done in terms of like if some substances can bring on about certain mental illnesses, they can exacerbate some symptoms. But Eli was definitely suffering from that. So during Duncan's college career, he would go to all the games. He stopped showing up at some games. Long story short, he was there on draft night, but his behavior was becoming increasingly more and more erratic, right? And again, like it's a very sensitive subject, but eventually Eli was watching a game with his father, and he just said like, hey, the voices are telling me to harm the ones that I love and do this and that, right? Very scary things if you've dealt with somebody that has mental issues and stuff. I as well have that in my family, and a lot of people do. Oh, what's up, Adam? How you doing? Hey, guys. So Eli left. He left his family home. He stopped watching the game, and he drove his car to the bridge in Maine, and he attempted to take his own life. Unfortunately, he survived the attempt. had a collapsed lung, some bruised ribs, nothing too serious, thankfully. And this is a point in time where Eli had been sober for a bit. Um, every time Duncan would celebrate a milestone with him, he'd post it on social media. They'd have little gatherings and little like parties for Eli just to celebrate his sobriety. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So the piece goes on, and unfortunately, Eli attempted to take his own life a second time, and he did unfortunately succeed. And I'll tie this all together in a ribbon, and I'm gonna wrap this up soon. So I want to watch a bit of the ball game. How you going? But basically, I was watching all this while I'm in bed, can't sleep, mind's just tossing and turning. Again, like those intrusive thoughts or whatever coming in, and I teared up. I legit like cried in my bed. Cried in my bed. I didn't start crying for like a while because as men, we look at it like it's a weakness, especially men of color, because every time we show vulnerability and this and that, we're afraid that it's going to come back to be pushed into our face, that it's going to be used against us, and that we're going to be less of a man. And our culture is very hyper masculine. Like even growing up with an African stepdad, I have a bit about that in my act where it's like you can't show emotion. You have to be steady. You have to be calm. You have to be the provider, be this and that. You have to wear so many hats. And some people just cannot handle the pressure. And I thought about Duncan and his family and how he honors his brother every single time he plays. Because Chuck, Ernie, Shaq, we're all saying like we glorify athletes. There's definitely celebrity worship in our culture, but you never know what somebody is dealing with behind the scenes. And that rings true for a lot of different aspects of life, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, how did I even function for half of my life? And I realized I was functioning on a baseline. I was functioning so I didn't have to feel pain. I was functioning so I could numb the pain, whether it be mortality, my grandfather's passing, my grandmother's illness, because I'm going to open up to you guys right now. There was a point in time in my mid-20s where every positive male role model that I had from, I want to say, 21 to 25 and even to 29, because, just before the pandemic. I want to say 3 important male role models. All of them passed away within like consecutively, like back to back to back. First, it was my dear friend Wayne, God rest his soul. He was an amateur comic, and he started out at the then Rockhead Comedy Quarry. Oh, what's up, Scott? How you doing, buddy? Give me a wave. And Wayne was an older guy. We didn't have a lot in common. He liked to smoke. Some things I will not mention on this stream, but we hung out and we'd watch UFC together. He introduced me to his family. He basically took me in as like one of his own. Because I was still pretty young in comedy, but he was asking me like stuff. So, yo, how do I do this Squeaky? What do you think about this Squeaky? And he would just go on his YouTube live stream and just rant about the Detroit Red Wings. Like he was such an unhinged guy, but a hilarious dude off stage, and like genuinely like a great, like a gentle soul and a beautiful heart, which is ironic because he passed away because he had an issue with his ticker, and it was, I'm not going to reveal all the details, but we were supposed to do a comedy Christmas show the next night. We were supposed to dress up in different characters, be different characters. Like one was going to be an elf. I was the elf. One was going to be Santa, a reindeer, this and that. We had written out a whole script about how we were going to do this show and like have it be a special event. And he passed away the very next day. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, guys. Not just me, but the entire community. And the funeral service was rough. I didn't really cry about it for like a month. I was just numb, just absolutely numb. So he passed away around then. Soon after that, I want to say 2014, I was dating a girl at the time. And I remember coming home one night after some libations and, a night out on the town. And my grandmother was in bed, and I was walking back to my room, and she just turned to me and she said, "Papa passed. Papa passed." And So that's why every time when I go on stage, you might see me, I always tap my necklace 3 times. You know, I don't necessarily subscribe to conventional religion or a higher power in that sense, but I think about him every single time. I think about Wayne. I think about all the people that helped me in my life, that affected me deeply. Because so many people in my family say I am the living embodiment of him. It's truly a gentle soul, you know? Excuse me. So he passed, and, I was going to so many funerals back then. It was so rough, man. It was so rough. Then soon after that, I had a personal support worker, PSW is the acronym. My support worker's name is Joe. And Joe is an older Chinese man. Hilarious dude. We bonded because I grew up watching Jackie Chan movies. I found out that he's also not the best guy either, but we have flaws and we're human, It's you have to kind of sometimes meet people where they are. Not to say that they're all similar, but you know. So we bonded by our love of Jackie Chan. I love doing voices because of him. I'd always imitate him. Um, he would take me on day trips to London to go see his daughter, who at the time was in university up in Western. And every time he would turn the steering wheel, he had this old crappy Toyota Camry. The steering wheel would move, and the steering wheel would go like, oh. That's like the exact, I'm not even exaggerating, that's the exact sound it would make. And I would always joke with him. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Joe, it's like Bruce Lee is stuck in your steering wheel. It's like, oh. So we would just giggle and just silly juvenile things about that. He was like having a separate dad. Because when my grandfather was having his illness at the time, there was a lot of turbulence in my family at the time too. My mom and my stepdad were not together at the time. Some other members of my family weren't getting along. I love my mother, and I would do anything for that woman. But she can be difficult, like a lot of people can. And other members of my family were difficult. So that's when I started to do comedy. And that's when I met Joe, so I could have some control over the chaos. You know what I mean? So around December 20th, I want to say 2015, I get an email from my care provider that says, "We regret to inform you that our beloved friend Joe Ing has passed." So I'm just like, are you kidding me? Again, it was like, they always say it comes in threes, but like this one was like a Mike Tyson uppercut to my psyche and to my every fiber of my being. So hit me like a ton of bricks. Grandma and I, we go to the service. Still have that card till today. I still sometimes speak with his daughter to this day. That's why Christmas is always a very, very rough time for me, guys. I don't like Christmas. So I think it's a beautiful holiday, but every single Christmas I'm reminded of them. So I would basically drink myself under the table at times just to numb the pain, just to numb it. Because to add more insult to injury, right before 2020 happened, a dear, dear friend of mine, George Stratus, he's the proprietor and owner of Honor Roll Sushi and Sliders, an amazing bar and restaurant in Windsor. Go check them out. They have amazing sushi. They have these tiny little burgers, and they're immaculate. Like, I never ate sushi before I went to this place. It is an amazing place to go, and we do open mics there on Thursday. So if you want to come check me out, some of the amazing talent in Windsor, please go there. So George's dad's name was Lucky, right? And Lucky did a lot for the community. Lucky's an old school R&B guy. You know what I mean? He would always play like Motown in the bar. There'd always be a playlist of like soul music, And he's this white Greek guy, this 5'0" Greek guy, family of immigrants, love soul, love Detroit, love everything about it. Like, I think one time the Rubber Band Man song came on. I'm not gonna sing it because copyright. But he plays. He said this type of music made you feel something. It's like he said we don't have soul like this anymore in music, and it really stuck to me. So I'm like, yeah, we don't, man. We really don't. And every time I was having a rough day, whether it be family issues, mobility issues, mental issues, issues with women or whatever, I would always go to that place, and he just knew how to cheer me up. He knew how to cheer everybody up. Like that was Lucky's superpower, hidden superpower. So, again, Christmas. You sense the theme here, guys? Around Christmas, Lucky passes away suddenly. Lucky was a workaholic, and even George and the family would agree with this. He was a workaholic. He loved what he did. That's why he never worked a day in his life. He put everything he had into honor roll sushi and sliders, into his various other business ventures. And we had his memorial downtown. And to this day, they have a memorial at Honor Roll Sushi and Sliders honoring Lucky. It's in the backdrop. There's a picture of an artist that did the painting, and there's Lucky in the top left corner, and there's Jimi Hendrix in the bottom because he was a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. And Lucky was very instrumental and always believed in helping the homeless. So they always do a fundraiser every single year at Honor Roll where they sell bracelets that says "Love Like Lucky." Love Like Lucky. And there's a spot on the bar, if you look on the inside of the table, it says Lucky. Lucky. Every time I'm feeling bad and feel like the world's ending and the sky's falling, I tap that 3 times. 3 times. It's like I do for my grandfather with this little necklace that my mother gave me. Because every time I go on that stage, every time I do that, I give it my absolute all. And if you're not doing that in your life, guys, I think that's the problem with the world. Not to wax poetically, I'm sure some of my comic friends are gonna roast the hell out of me for this podcast. It's like, oh, you're trying to be all wisdom, you're trying to be all profound. Shut up, Dave. That's why I love and hate comics. You guys are the biggest a-holes when you're trying to have an emotional moment. It's like, I love you, bro. It's like, get out of here, you idiot. But every single year, that's why Christmas is hard for me. And that's why every single time I set wheel or foot on that stage, I hold nothing back. I give it my all. Ironically, guys, when you stop seeking the approval of others, that's when you get approval. That's when you get real love. That's when you get people that are ride or die, that have your back. Unconditionally. My grandmother taught me unconditional love. Ever since the moment I was born. Ever since she held me in her hand. Because even to this day, she puts her hand up and she's like, he was this big, and I held him when he was this big. And it's funny because when I go back to my childhood home, there's still some like chalk marks on the wall, even though we painted and renovated it. There's some memories I had because I took chalk when I started walking, and I just drew on the wall. I just walked and started drawing on the wall. And my aunt was so pissed one day because she was like, I would have gotten yelled at, this and that. And she said, instead, your grandmother turned and says, oh, look, he can hold it. He can hold it. Isn't that amazing, guys? He can hold it. And she's just like, you're the favorite. Like, what? Like, almost like playful envy, in a sense that what my aunt was saying. Even my sisters sometimes say, oh, you're the favorite. Like, grandma likes you the best. And it's like, guys, stop. She all loves us, and Papa loves us in their own individual ways, because my grandfather, and I realized why he called us this, he all had nicknames for all of us individually, because my grandfather was very zen. My aunt said he was very zen. He was big into martial arts, and he watched the show Kung Fu with David Carradine in the 70s. I watched a little bit. It's a beautiful show. Check it out, guys. But he called me Grasshopper. He called my middle sister, the one that's just behind me, he called her Ladybird. And he called, was it Morning Dove? I think it was Morning Dove. No, he called her Ladybird. And then he called my youngest sister, my baby sister, Morning Dove. Morning Dove or Ladybird. Sorry, guys. I haven't had a lot of sleep. My apologies. But basically, he made it. He loves us. He loved us all in our own individual ways. And that's why I carry his memory every single day. And that's why I do what I do, to honor him and treating comedy like a real business. So I think I got to everything that I wanted to get to on this stream, guys. Sorry if it was a bit disjointed. Sorry if I went out on tangents a few times here and there. I'm going to have a bit more structure to this. And What do you guys think? Should I do this every Saturday and just answer your questions too? If you guys have questions or advice or whatever, like, not to say I'm in a position to give advice for a lot of things, but I like to help and I will listen and I will do what I can because this is also why I love Scotty Barnes. He's one of my new favorite basketball players. He plays on the Raptors. You can tell I'm a huge basketball fan. Even if you're not into that, it's theater and it's all related. But why I love Scotty Barnes, and I wasn't really sold on the kid because I'm like, he's not aggressive enough. He doesn't shoot threes. You know, he does a lot in defense, but like he just looks disinterested out there. It wasn't until I saw the playoffs this year where it's like what happened to me in 2020. Something happened to this man. A fire was lit under him. I don't know whether it's him being a father or the franchise basically giving him the keys to their franchise and saying like, no, you are a guy and we're going to mold our entire team around you. What I love about Scotty Barnes is that his great joy in life is providing and uplifting and helping others. He gets more pleasure out of the assist, which is, it's still a stat. You still get reward on the stat, and a hockey assist is like basically you don't have to directly contribute to the goal or the scoring. He gets more out of an assist than he does getting his own points. That's a leader. That's a leader. And this Mother's Day, honor those leaders in your life. Honor those people in your life that maybe you don't give the recognition to or maybe don't get enough recognition. And just think about how they affect your life because I think you're going to approach your life differently. I know that I've been approaching my life differently, all because of my grandparents, all because of the strong people I've been privileged to have in my life. I've been trying not to cry all this entire stream, guys. This entire stream. What are you doing to me? I'm opening up to y'all. I've been trying not to cry, but it being Mother's Day, I think that we should keep that in mind, and it would solve a lot of the problems that is going on in the world. So many people just need that person to show them what's possible, whether it be the best man, woman, they, them, whatever you subscribe to, whatever you believe. To me, that's why I am the man that I am today. And most people don't have one or two best friends. I've been privileged to have, I can honestly say, I have about 5 or 6 like best friends, right? If I call them right now, they'd help me out. I'm not going to name them all. Y'all know who you are. The real ones know who you are. And one of them, who we didn't talk for an extended period of time, and now she's back in my life, and I'm forever grateful to her as well. She knows who she is. So I think that's it for the stream, you guys. I'm going to stop doing this right now. I'm going to get something to eat. I still have not eaten yet. That might be why my blood sugar might be low, going off on all these tangents. I'm going to get something to eat, put on the Jays game, get some sleep, and I will do my best to do this every Saturday afternoon, just for you, because not only that I want to grow my YouTube page and all that, I want to connect with you guys and reach out more. You know, not even just in Windsor. Like Windsor is, I'm loyal to the soil, man. As crappy as this town can be, I would be nothing without all of you guys. So we're gonna end it there, and I will talk to you guys later. Wrist it. Appreciate all of y'all. Thank you, Scott, as well. And for some of you guys that are watching later, I appreciate all of y'all. I love all of y'all. I will put the road dates in later when I finish all this stream, and we will talk. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Love you so much. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Peace. That's why.